Hey everyone, let us solve Leetcode 36. The name of the problem is valid sudoku. And if you read the problem from Leetcode, the problem says that we will have a sudoku board like this. It will be 9 by 9, meaning 9 on this side and 9 on this side. So column will be 9 and row will be 9 values. Okay. But the problem is we cannot have duplicate values to our rows and also to our columns. And that means, let's say I have a value 2 here, 5, 7 here. I cannot have 2 or 5 or 7 in this row. If we have that means it's a duplicate. Then we just have to return false, meaning it's not a valid sudoku. Similarly, since I have 2 here, I cannot have 2 in this column. And if I have 2 here, then we can simply return false, that it's not a valid sudoku. Similarly, this goes for all the column. We cannot have duplicate, and all the rows, we cannot have duplicate. Now that should be easy, but this says that, you see this 3, 3. This is one box. We will call it box. This is one box. And they are saying you cannot have duplicate on the boxes as well. So this is one box. This 3 by 3 will be another box. This is another box. And similarly, this is another box. We cannot have any duplicate value, meaning, for example, we have 2 in this box or 5 in this box. I cannot have 5 or 2 anywhere. If I have that, that means it's not a valid sudoku. So we will have this many boxes. How many boxes will we have? If we count them, we will have 3 boxes at a row and 3 boxes at a column. Okay, so for each box, we need an identifier, right? We will come to that point later, but first let us understand how can we identify the row and column number. So this is row 1, this is row 2, this is row 3, 4, 5, and so on. So we will have index number, right? When we run a loop, we get an index number. So for row, this is row 0. This is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Similarly, if we think about the columns, this is column 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Then question is, how do I identify is box? We need to identify box so that we can check later, do we have any duplicate in this box? We will see how we can check that, but first of all, we need to know how can we identify that. Well, it's easy if you know the tricks. So we have 3 by 3, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 box. All we have to do is divide each index by 3. If you divide 0 by 3, it will be 0. If you divide 1 by 3, it will still be 0 point something. We don't want what is after the decimal, or we only want what is before the decimal, the integer value. So if it is 0 point something, we don't care what is after the point. We will take that as 0. If you do 2 by 3, it will also be something like 0 point something. We don't care what is after the decimal. So overall, this box we can identify as 0, box 0. Similarly, if you do 3 by 3, that will be 1. If you do 4 by 3, that will be 1 point something. We'll take that as 1. 5 by 3, it will also be 1 point something. We'll take that as 1. So this is box number 1. And if you do the same thing here, it will be box number 2. Box number 2 in row. Similarly, we have to do that for column, right? So if we think about in column wise, do the same thing, 0 by 3, 1 by 3, 2 by 3. That will give you 0 point something. We don't care. We only want the integer value. So do the same thing for these items. That will give you 1. And this one, 2. Okay. So let's say I am pointing at this value right here. How can I know this value is exactly at this point? Well, it has a column number 2 and it has a row number 2. So I can say 2 is at column 2, row 2. Similarly, I have 5 here. 5 is at column 1, row 1. And this box, column 0, row 0. This box, column 1, row 1. This box, 0, 2. Okay? Now we will solve this problem using a nested loop. Hopefully you know how nested loop works. Well, I'm going to show you anyway, pretty quickly. Let's say you have 2D arrays like this, and inside that you have 2, 4, 5, and you have another array, 1, 2, 3. How can you print all the values right here? You run a loop, right? For I equal to something, I less than something, I plus plus, you know this, right? So what will I do? I is for each value inside this array, for each value. So how do I get into each value, or in other words, each array? I have to take another loop. So I have to take another loop for j equal to I, or j less than something something, j plus plus, right? What will j do? J will get into each array one by one, and then we can print or whatever, doesn't matter. We can just print j. So first item, I will be here, and j will start from index 0 and print all of them. Then I will come here, j will start from here and print all of them. Okay, this is just an example. Now let us go back to our sudoku. Although visually it looks like a box, but what is it actually? This is one array, this is another array, this is another array. These are just arrays. If I show you, let's say in my first array I have 2, 5, 7, 4, and I'm, instead of writing them side by side like I did here, I'm going to write them from top to bottom. It's the same thing, right? So I will have another array. I'll call it 1, 3, 7, 9 or whatever. I will have another array, 5, 4, 1, 2, and then I'll close this. So if you think about it, it looks like a sudoku board, doesn't it? If I just make a visual representation of this, and that is the exact thing that is done right here. Instead of we have 4 items and 3 items here, instead of that, our sudoku board has 9 items on each array and 9 arrays. So if you look at this, I have 3 arrays. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 arrays, like this. So what is this 2 actually? This is actually my column, first item in my column. This is the second item in my column. And this is the third item in my column, just like we have it right here. Let's say 2 is the first item. And then what do we have here? 1. If I write 1 here, so 1 is my second item, right? Okay. Now let me show you how we are actually going to solve this. Remember what I said here, that for each value, I can identify what is its column number and what is its row number and what is its box number. I can identify that. Now let me try to run the code and show it to you. So for each row, we will have a set. What is set? Well, in set, you cannot have duplicate values, and also from set, you can easily check, does a value exist in your set or not? So time complexity of that is of 1. That's why we're going to use set, because it's easier. So how are we going to do that? Okay, let's, first of all, we will have set. So for each column, for each row, let's say, I will call it row set. It's a variable name. Call it anything you like. We'll have empty set at first. For column, each column, I will take column set. Initially, it's empty. And for each box, I will have another set. So I'll call it box set. Initially, it's empty. Now I will run a loop, just like what I have shown you right here. I will run a loop, and what will my I give me? I will go through each array, right? And what will j give me? J will go through each item of those arrays. So I will run a loop. For I equal to 0, I less than 9. Why 9? Because our array row, or each array has 9 items. So it's going to run it 9 times. So I less than 9, I plus plus. And then for each value inside those arrays, I will run another loop. For j equal to 0, j less than 9, j plus plus. Why j less than 9? Because we also have 9 items in our column. Okay, so j is giving us the column number. J is giving us the column number, and I is giving us the row number. Let me share it to you again. So what is this 2? What is this 2? Column number for 2 is 2. What is the row number for this? Row number is also 2. It can be something else, but in this case, it's both of them are 2. So, okay, when I'm running the loop, what will I get? My j will come to 0 at first. So 0 is 2. 0 item is 2. 0 index is 2. So I will make a string. This is a variable name. Call it anything you like. I will make a string. So I will say character j at column. What is the column name? Sorry, not character j. Character is the value that I am getting. Okay, to get the character, we have to get the character first. This is just index number. We have to get the character first. And I will take a variable, call it character, or char for short. So when we are at our first index, I So if our variable name is board, what is the first item? What is the first item? Board of I of j means 0 of 0 is going to give me the first item. When I go to the second item, board of I of j, meaning I means 0 and j means 1, it will give me 5. I'll show you the code from my computer later, but for now, try to understand it with pen and paper. Okay? So, hopefully you understood what I have just said. So, if our variable name is board, and what I mean by variable is all our input values, if that is given to us in a variable called board. So, for example, if this was the case, so board equal to all this, then so my character will be at board I j, like this. Okay, now let us do what I have just done earlier. For column, I will take a variable, call string, and I will make a string. I'll say character is this character. To represent that, I will use a $sign. And what is the column number? Column number is this j right here. So I will use a $sign just to show that it is giving us an integer or something else. Anyway, this is the string for column. Similarly, I will do it for row, because remember this value that we are getting is time. So for example, if I am getting this value, this belongs to a column, and this also belongs to a row, right? Each item, it belongs to a row and it also belongs to a column. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So just like I have done for column string, I'll do the same thing. Character is this character that we are getting from here. At which row? I is giving us row I. This I is giving us the row number. Okay. So we've done it for column, we have done it for string, row, and now it's time to do it for box. These boxes. And we already know how we can identify each box. We just have to divide our index number by 3, and we only want the integer value and ignore the decimal part. So for that, I'll take another variable, call it box number. And how can I get the box number? Well, we will divide 3 with I, so I by 3, and divide j by 3. So we need to know, so for example, this box is at 0 and 0. This box is at 1, 0. This box, it is at 0, 1. So we need to divide the row index value by 3, also the column index value by 3. So we're doing exactly that. And I by 3 for first item will give us 0, and for first column j by 3 will also give us 0. I have just shown you few minutes ago. For this 1, j will give us 1, j by 3, each of them, and row will give us 0, so this box is at 1, 0. Anyway, so we're getting a box number and we're getting some value here. We have to make a string out of it. So For first one, it will be 0, 0. For second one, it will give us like 0, 1 or something. 0, 1 or something right here. Okay, so we got our box number. Now, I want to make for this character, which box it belongs to, this character, I need to make a string out of it. So I'll say box string, just like I have done for call string, row string. I will call it another variable. I will call it box string. So just like I have done here, I'll make another string, call it character, is this character that we are getting right here. Add box. What is the box number? This one. So box number. Okay. So we got all our string. It's time to insert them to set. We had taken some empty set for each row, is column and box, remember? So before we add them to our set, we have to check, does this that we have just made, does this already exist in our column set? Does this value that we have got here, does this row already exist in our row set? And same for box. Does this value exist at the box number that is already inserted to this set, box set from here? So we want to check that. It's a simple if condition. So if my call string in column set, this is how you check in Python. It may be different in the language you are using. In Python, you can just do in column set. That means if it already exists in column set. Okay, so we're going to use or. The row string, does it already exist in our row set? Or this box string, does it already exist in our box set? If it does, if it already exists in either of them, that means we have a duplicate. So we can just return false from here, meaning it's not a valid sudoku. But if it is not the case, if they don't exist in their sets, then we can just add them to our set. And we can easily do that. So for row set dot add, what do we want to add? What we have got right here, row string. We want to add this to our row set. Similarly, we want to add column set dot add call string and box set dot add box string that we have got. So if we come out of our for loop, meaning this never is true and it never returns false, and we, in that case, when we come out of these loops, then we can say it's a valid sudoku since it never returned false, it never found any duplicate. So we can come out of the loop and return true from here. Now let me show you the code. Basically what I have just shown you in pen and paper. We're just going to see how it looks like in actual code. So just like I have shown you, for each row, I will take an empty set at first. For each column, I will take an empty set, and for each box, I will take a set. And then I will run a loop, and for I and for j, and I will give us each row. Let me show you here. I will give us each array like this, and j will go through each item inside those arrays. So these are basically j. Now what is this dot right here, dot? Because remember, in our sudoku board there can be some field, they are empty. So what is Leetcode doing is, well, if it is an empty box, then we'll just use that as a dot. So in our code we have to ignore the boxes, because yes, boxes can be duplicates. So each column can have boxes, many boxes. They are not duplicates. So we have to ignore the dot. Dot is the representation of box, empty box. So what is our character? The character is I of j. We will, in each time we iterate through loop, it will give us a character, and we are storing that in this variable. And at first we are checking if it is equal to dot, and that means it's an empty box. We don't care. Continue, meaning don't run anything below. Okay. If it is not a dot, then you come down right here, and I take a variable, call it single row, call it anything you like, and I make a string connecting the string and value together with this plus sign. This is how you do it in Python. So that's what I'm doing. I have this character from here, so I'm just saying character is this character at row number I, converting I to string so that I can add that to another string. So for column, I'm doing the same thing. Character is this character at column j, and then box number. Now why did I take int of I here, right? It looks like I am converting the index to integer, but it's really not that case. Remember what I said about finding box number, that we want to get only the integer value and ignore the decimal part. In Python 2, you can do that like this, or if you are using Python 3, you can use the floor method. So for that, you have to import math like this on top, and then instead of this, you can just do I by 3, and whatever we get in I by 3, we want only the floor value or the integer value, in other words. So you can do that math.floor, and inside that I by 3, you can do that. Similarly, you can do it here. You don't have to do int of j by 3. You can just do math.floor and then j by 3. And what this will do, this will give you the integer value and ignore the decimal part. In Python 2, however, I did it this way. And then this is giving us the box number. And what we have done for row and column, we're doing that to this variable, character, this character at box, this box number. And then we're checking if these values, single row, single column, single box, these values, if they already exist to the set or not. These are our sets. If they exist in the set, that means it's a duplicate, return false. If it is not, simply add them. And if it never return false, that means when we come out of the loop, we can simply return true. That means it's a valid sudoku.